So today we'll be discussing the impacts of biofuels, specifically the impact of ethanol. Okay, so a little bit of background. A biofuel is a type of fuel that is completely and naturally derived from living matter. So an example of this type of biofuel is ethanol. So ethanol specifically is an alcohol used as a blending agent with gasoline to increase octane and cut down carbon monoxide and other smog-causing emissions. And ethanol has just kind of played a bigger role as climate change issues have become greater, and it just helps with the elimination of greenhouse gases. Okay, so now we'll be going into how exactly ethanol is cultivated and how it's just kind of made, where it's derived from. So ethanol is made using material called feedstock. So like example of these feedstocks would be like corn, which is the most common that we see, wheat, sugars, and the way that it works is that I provided a little diagram of it right over here, but we have we start off with the corn from the cornfields, and we just kind of pick those, derive them, and then we move into the milling process. And in the milling process, we just kind of grind to the meal, and then we transition into the liquefaction. And here's where we add water and just kind of like let it cook. And then from there, we move into saccharification. And this is where the breakdown of starch to sugar occurs. From that step, we then go into fermentation, which is a familiar term that we've learned. And here's where we break down sugar to ethanol. And then we transition into distillation. And this is where it evaporates and condenses. And then from there, we move into denaturization, another term we've heard before. And this is just kind of where it becomes undrinkable, and we then blend it into the gasoline for use. Okay, so now we'll be looking at ethanol's effect on carbon footprint, which is kind of like the main thing that we're discussing today. So overall, research has found that the use of corn ethanol from 2005 to 2019 lowers the carbon footprint in the United States, and it has 44 to 52% lower carbon gas emissions than gasoline. So as you can see, there has been quite a transition into implementing the use of ethanol, just kind of as climate change issues become greater. So the decrease of carbon footprint is highly due to the cornfields per acre, decreased fertilization use, and improved ethanol production processes. And these are just kind of all things that lead into the decrease of the carbon footprint. Okay, so developmental status. So the first generation of ethanol, which is sugar, like beet sugar, kind of like a corn as well, is widely available and implemented at an industrial scale. Okay, so now we're looking at ethanol's economic impact. So ethanol production creates lots of jobs in rural areas where employment opportunities are needed, and that's just through the cornfields and just the manufacturing plants. There is a lot of people that need we need jobs to be filled there. So in 2022, the ethanol industry created 78,802 direct jobs and 342,876 indirect or induced jobs. So as you can see, the use of ethanol has created quite the impact economically in the U.S. specifically. So how do we reach the public when discussing ethanol? So issues over climate change have piqued interest in developing fuels that reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emission. And one of these fuels is ethanol. So ways that the importance is being shown to the public is through the Energy Policy Act that was implemented. And this kind of established a renewable fuel standard and led to a lot of the government getting involved in creating a healthier planet. And so also right now, the Biden administration takes efforts towards solving climate change issues, and a lot of it funding and research goes towards it. Okay, so current analysis on kind of the whole situation. So ethanol is one of the most popular and accessible biofuels that we use today. So it's important that we keep finding ways that we can use it and access it. So again, it's a driving force for the economy as well as the environment. So kind of the next step is finding ways to ensure it can be implemented in gas stations throughout the world and through the transition to a healthier planet. And so kind of like a plan of action for that is implementing more cornfields in the rural areas where we can, and providing the manufacturing plants for ethanol on a larger scale. And this in turn will create more job opportunities in these rural areas as well. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for listening and taking the time. This is just my works cited, but thank you.